After growing impatient with the political illiteracy of most of my countrymen, I began researching strategy and tactics used by military intelligence. My research carried me from learning about just regular Psyops to learning about things that were much, much more advanced. Today, I'm going to focus on something that's called cognitive warfare. Through this research, I would find that the contents of this so-called cognitive warfare would shock and turn my stomach to such a degree that it would redirect the entire trajectory of much of my research and possibly my life as well. Cognitive warfare, or what I call #CogWar, is a war that is waged upon the very process of learning itself. Until very recently, war was confined to 5 different operational domains, those being land, sea, air, space, and cyberspace. The 2020 NATO document called Cognitive Warfare, A Battle for the Brain, written by Francis du Cluzel, reports that the brain of mankind has been designated as the 6th operational domain for modern warfare by NATO. Okay, what does that mean? What is this so-called cognitive warfare, and what does it even look like? It's probably not affecting me or anybody I know, right? We need to explain what cognitive warfare is. But in order to do that, it's better to explain what it is not. Cognitive warfare is very new, but traditional Psyops, or operations that target the mind of an adversary, are as old as Alexander the Great and Genghis Khan. A new style of information-based, non-physical combat became the norm in the post-Cold War period. This non-kinetic mode of hybrid warfare has consisted of economic, cyber, information, as well as psychological warfare operations. But cognitive warfare, although it might utilize some of those, is different than even these. So, what the heck is it? According to Cluzel's paper, CogWar is the, quote, weaponization of brain sciences. The new method involves hacking the individual by exploiting the vulnerabilities in the human brain in order to implement more sophisticated social engineering. That sounds nice, doesn't it? Or creating propaganda that does not change your position on a given issue, but actually changes the thought process that brought you to that position. According to Ben Norton's article on Cluzel's paper, cognitive warfare will lead to the militarization of every aspect of our society. One of the objectives of cognitive warfare is to turn every person into a weapon and an agenda that they themselves do not understand. The vast majority of civilian populations are the ones that are being targeted by this cognitive warfare. I think it's basically a philosophy that favors the blending of most aspects of the military and the civilian world, while using the existing information operations, influence operations, apparatus in a more coordinated manner in order to achieve a specific neurological end. Or sort of a manner of layering specific attacks and causing the stimulus to attack your brain in a certain manner, which basically takes advantage of the vulnerabilities that every single human has in their brain. One of these vulnerabilities is cognitive bias. Now, we have cognitive bias as a built-in defense mechanism within our brain. That way that If someone tells us something that seems absurd, it's too much. It's far too much energy, time to sit back and say something. Like if someone just told you, you go to the grocery store and then someone just told you that they were sure that aliens were going to nuke the planet in 12 hours from now. Obviously, it's you have that built in. The cognitive bias to not believe that, because it's a stress management strategy. It's too much. It basically protects you from overstimulus. It protects you from, having your mind bombarded. NATO's 2021 Innovation Challenge Conference was hosted in Canada and featured a panel that included Dr. Cluzel, author of the previously mentioned paper. This featured a Zoom presentation by Dr. Cluzel, and the slides and commentary were very enlightening, to say the least. Cluzel began his presentation by saying that cognitive warfare is one of the hottest topics within NATO today. But who could have guessed that, with people practically breaking into some sort of a gang member psychology with regards to their support for the war in Ukraine? Although I'm going to give you a lot more of my own words and analysis for this, I think it's best to just let Cluzel's words speak for themselves. Cluzel states, it starts with information because information is, if I may say, the fuel of cognitive warfare. But it goes way beyond solely information, which is a standalone operation. Information warfare is a standalone operation. Cognitive warfare overlaps with big tech corporations and mass surveillance because it's all about leveraging the big data, Duke Cluzel explained. We produce data everywhere we go, every minute, every second we go online. And this is extremely easy to leverage those data in order to better know you and use that knowledge to change the way you think. I remember back in the day, I used to be a little bit apprehensive about using the phrase mind control, right? But this is so close to what it is. He says later on, it's about changing the cognition of human targets. That's pretty much mind control. Am I wrong? Cluzel also stated, it's crucial to understand that it's a game on our cognition, on the way our brain processes information and turns it into knowledge, rather than solely a game on information or on the psychological aspects of our brains. It's not only an action against what we think, but also against the way we think, the way we process information and turn it into knowledge. In other words, cognitive warfare is not just another word or another name for information warfare. It is war on our individual processor, our brain. This is so mad scientist-like speak. Am I wrong? As for the targets of cognitive warfare, they could be, Duke Cluzel revealed that anyone and everyone is on the table. Cognitive warfare has a universal reach for setting that the individuals to states to multinational organizations, he said. And a field of action is the global aim to seize control of the human being, the civilian, as well as the military. And the private sector has financial interest in advancing cognitive warfare research, he noted. The mass worldwide investments made in neuroscience suggest that the cognitive domain will probably be one of the battlefields of the future. So cutting through all this verbiage, CogWar is finding ways of manipulating the learning process towards achieving warfare objectives. Cluzel refers to some of the objectives and targets of CogWar in the following slide. They are information, data, cyber, NBIC, which stands for nanotech, biotech, infotech, cognitive technology, or cognotech, neuroweapons, decision-making, cognition, trust, and hybrid warfare. And here's one of the models, if you need more of a working definition of hybrid warfare. Clouseau also talks about participatory propaganda and how its usage has been far more successful than anyone had imagined. I couldn't help but draw a comparison between the Q Psyop and many of the tactics that are shown on these slides. The part that stuck with me is the sensory or perceptive overflow, where people that were looking at the post would have so many obscure details it would be impossible to keep up with all of them. Also, attentional saturation or tunneling of attention. In order to study or keep up with all of those posts, you had to dedicate so much time and energy, you had to ignore so many other things at the same time. I remember early on when I still thought it was real, I thought that I could sit down and then just unveil what nobody else had. But I didn't see it right away, but it was very clear now that I was just looking for something in the noise that I was never, ever going to find. The next one that I think is relevant is errors of judgment or cognitive bias. So if you have a number of gullible people that believe that something that's perceived to be impossible will happen, but don't worry when it doesn't happen. Also, this CogWar stuff is being waged and then wargamed by more forces than just NATO. It has plans to try to expand into every single possible space that it will be allowed to spread into the future. And that includes watching things that might actually be implanted inside of your brain, such as Neuralink. I've tried my best to embellish this as little as possible. All of this, just about, I'd say probably 99% of it is directly from the document itself. I don't know, maybe 1 to 5% of it is just my opinion. So, do you think that this represents some sort of a threat to humanity? Or perhaps a threat to independent thought? Or do you think I'm just being melodramatic? Let me know in the comments below.